What's up guys, I hope you're all doing well today. Welcome back to another Awaken video. So today we're going to go through the shop and we're going to go through each of the different tabs for the different currencies and areas in the game you can collect things to buy items from the shop. And we're going to go over what I would pick out of the shop and what to look for. Alright, so for right now, for just a little bit longer, you have the festival shop. You would have been earning these little gingerbread guys. And there's a few different things in here I really liked. Obviously, you get your ancient summoning crystal if you've earned enough, your foodies, normal shards, holy pumpkin 5-star, and then some gear charms, the more expensive ones, and these are all limited. And then there's the gear pieces. So as you see here, I decided to, of course, pick up the crystal, the 5-star pumpkin, all of my summoning shards, foodies, and then these special gear charms. I did buy a pair of boots from the warrior setup here just because I didn't have any and it was a 6-star speed set, so it was pretty good. As a whole, I don't think the gear here is particularly strong. There's no crit rate, crit damage on, I want to say, any of these pieces. It's just a lot of percentage flat stats, so if you still need just some basic gear that's higher rarity and, 6-star just so you can get stronger base stats, I think these are okay, but I definitely don't think that they're end game gear by any means. And then I myself did not waste any currency on the little obsidian shards for leveling abilities. You can farm for them fairly easily anyways. I think they're a little too expensive. But other than picking up the main limited amount of things from the bottom there, the things I spent the most gingerbreads on was the advanced gear charms and a little bit in the jelly and gold, not very much. But I just had so many, even once I picked up all this important stuff down here, I just had so many left over because of how long the event went, and so I used it to just stock up on a ridiculous amount of these advanced gear charms for the artifact upgrade event we had, and thanks to doing this here, I was able to clear that out. So if you've still got some gingerbreads left, and for however long the shop is open, so in case you still got some gingerbreads laying around after the dragon event has ended, and you've already picked up the main limited items you want, I definitely recommend dumping the rest into advanced gear charms or jelly if you really wanted to, just because the charms themselves can be such a pain to get. So I really like when they give me an easy way to collect a lot of them. So that's what I would spend any leftover gingerbreads on. So the gold shop can drop different items. You can get little crystals for leveling abilities, you can get blue summon shard, you can get weapon tokens, you can get some random gear pieces, and then some glyphs. So for me personally, I always check the gear just to see what we have going. For me right now, none of these pieces are particularly strong, so I wouldn't be buying any of them. I don't generally pick up the glyphs. Sometimes, if I'm just rolling in money, I'll buy them just to save myself a little farming later, or if they're the high tier ones, sometimes I'll grab them. But personally, unless you have an abundance of gold, I wouldn't be buying the glyphs. And then the ability crystals. So they're usually pretty cheap, so a lot of the times I'll pick them up if they're for a color. I'm working on some champions currently. I think those are another one that's kind of a whether or not you have the funds to be able to do it and whether you want them. But the one main thing I'd say always pick up in the gold shop is any weapon charms or gear charms whatsoever of all the different rarities. They're really hard to get. It's very nice to be able to pick up a whole bunch of them for really cheap or even fairly expensive. The orange ones are really good. So I definitely think picking up all the gear charms in the shop is a good idea and should be done anytime you can. I do pick up the blue summoning crystals myself because you can always break down weak champions and collect resources that can be turned into a lot of other resources that we'll see here later, so I definitely think that's worth it. So in the diamond shop, this one's a little trickier. So early on when I had thousands of crystals and I hadn't done a bunch of 10 pulls, I would buy a lot of the things here. I didn't tend to buy the 3-star pumpkins, but I would buy all the gear charms, all the foodies every time, all the meal coupons, multiple of the boosters, and as you can see for this week, I did buy the 4-star and my 3 advanced summoning crystals that are slightly cheaper. They're 100 diamonds instead of 150, so always pick up your 3 of those per week if you can. But in here, honestly, I don't really think there's too much in the way of bad choices. I myself like to pick up the double XP for 6 hours because of being able to toggle it on and off. 6 hours of farming does equate to a lot of jelly in the campaign. So I tend to just pick up a double XP 6 hour once in a while. So I don't think that's too bad for the value. I don't know on the foodies. I have bought them before, and I definitely think that they're not a horrible deal, but I think they're a little more expensive. So if you're a little on the low side with gems like me as a free-to-play, I don't know if I'd be chucking gems at the foodies, especially because you do get quite a few of them throughout just playing the game. So I'd be a little more wary about dropping your diamonds on foodies. The gear charms, same thing. It's not a terrible deal. The special gear charms are pretty solid, and I don't think they're ridiculously overpriced, but I do think that they're a little spendier than maybe they should be. So if you're running a really budget playthrough, maybe don't buy all these. Meal coupon 2 for 30. This is a pretty good deal. I'm going to buy that one myself before I forget. 100 energy for 30 gems. Not too bad at all. And then obviously your normal price for summoning crystals. I think the 4-star pumpkin is worth it. I like to collect those. It's a little spendier, but I like to have them. Saves me a lot of farming. Lets me use the resources elsewhere. And that's about it for here. The only thing I would say absolutely don't do, never buy this. I'm sure common sense can tell every one of you this. This is an awful deal. 2k gold is like one campaign mission, like running one campaign mission in maybe Mythic. But so you're paying 20 diamonds for what, like 10, 12 energy can get you, if not more. So I think this is a horrible deal. Never spend your diamonds on this. Bad deal. Bad deal all around. And then we got the guild vault. So I think there's a lot more good stuff in here if I remember correctly. Yeah, so they got pretty good stuff here. So you get these tokens for signing in your guild every day and for doing well in the Armored Incursion clan boss. So that's where you collect all these guild tokens, believe it or not. And there's some pretty good stuff in here. So they do have some gear pieces that seem to be decent. Necklace and a ring. I want to say these rotate out, so these will change each time it resets. I could be wrong on that, so I wouldn't quote me there. I haven't saved up enough and bothered to buy them yet, but they do seem like decent pieces. And then Yolanda, she's a really strong champion. I only have her at 50, but I've been using her on and off in some different areas of the game because I got lucky and pulled her. So for 800, 4 times, you could have her yourself. I do not know if it's the same champion over and over. I'm assuming it is still Yolanda, and so you could theoretically every week, if you got enough tokens, get more of her to ascend the first one you were to get. I might be wrong there. I haven't bought out any of hers, so I'm not sure if it changes or anything. But I think she's a really strong champion, and I think that's definitely a reasonable deal. And then it's been a little while since I bought this one, but the 5-star and 4-star pumpkins, I think they're a good deal. They're expensive, but you're always going to need more of them, and there's only so many ways you can get them easily. I think it's worth. Same thing with the gear charms, both for the rings and the necklaces. They're a little on the spendier side, but you only get so many of the specialty ones. I think it's worth picking up. I'm not so sure on the summoning crystals. I have bought like one through here before, and I just feel like there's so many other ways to get summoning crystals that you'd be better off saving your guild tokens for some of these other resources rather than just trying to get more crystals to pull. So I would lean away from this one unless you're an absolute god at Armored Incursion and you're just raking in the guild tokens. I'd probably steer away from just getting summoning shards through the guild vault. Meal coupons, pretty good deal, 20. You can get 5 of them for 100. Not a bad deal there. And then the gold, 5k for 15 tokens. I think this is not nearly as bad as the diamond shop version, which was it 20 diamonds for 2,000 gold. So I definitely think it's a better deal than the one for diamonds, but personally it's still not a ton of gold, so unless you're really, really doing well and getting a lot of guild tokens, I'd steer clear of just buying gold with it. There's so many other ways to get gold, just not worth. And in the arena, so we got a lot of stuff in here to look at. So you've got synthesis for Abaddon. You can pick up his little pieces here, and let's see, it is 10 of them, 3 sets for a week, so you need an ungodly amount of arena tokens, and it would take you a week and a couple days, because I want to say each one takes 40 pieces to put together and make it, and you can only get 3 per week, so it would take a little while to get, but I think he's a really strong character. He looks like he'd be really good for Armored Incursion, and maybe possibly some dungeons. So I definitely think he would be worth it for the cost. Hierarchy Soul Arcana. So this allows you to add an ascension tier to any legendary hero, possibly epic as well, but I definitely wouldn't waste it there. Very expensive, but it takes place of getting a copy of a champion, and a lot of the trait upgrades for some legendary champions are pretty nutty, so it's very expensive, but I think that's a really good deal. And then we've got some random gear pieces here. Let's see. And looking at these, this one would interest me a little more, this warrior chest piece here, mostly just because you also get the crit rate and then some basic defensive stats. Not bad for a 6-star. I think that one's okay. A speed set with health base stat. This one's not bad. I don't know if I personally would spend 600 tokens for any of these. If I were, I think I would be picking this warrior one here. But overall, I think they're a little expensive and probably not worth it unless you're really, really, really struggling for gear. And then you've got your summoning crystals, special tokens, and meal coupons. I think all these are a pretty good deal. Same thing as with the guild one for the advanced summons. As you can see, I've only bought one here. I think they're a little spendy. I think there's a lot of other ways to get summoning crystals. I personally would hold on to these for basic resources to make your account stronger rather than just trying to pull for more characters. But that is just my personal opinion. Special gear tokens, worth. These ones can be used on any piece of gear rather than for a specific item. So I think these are very good, okay price, not a bad deal. Mail coupons, 1 coupon for 20 tokens. And I want to say you get anywhere from 3 to 5 tokens for an arena battle. So it's really not a bad deal doing arena battles, rolling it over and buying a bunch of meal coupons. I think it's a pretty good deal. And I know they changed the price recently to make it a little more affordable, and I definitely like that. And then we've got our classic gold here. Same thing as the last one. Not as bad a deal as the diamonds, but it's still not my personal preference as to where to spend my tokens. So if you really need it, it's there. I'd recommend holding on to them for something else. Alright, we're getting near the end here. So we got the trial shop. This one's pretty straightforward. You've got some hero synthesis parts here so that you can make Hugh, Herbeg, and Andre. And I want to say at least 2, if not all 3 of these are for making some synthesis legendaries. So they might be worth it. I know that Andre is supposed to be a pretty good character. I have him and I have not used him yet. He was supposed to be good for arena. I turned him into my legendary synthesis, so I have not built one to use yet. And then I have not used or seen Herbeg at all, though I've heard he can be very complicated and not really worth it. So it's kind of up to you whether you're interested in any of these champs or if you need them for one of your synthesis. So that will really determine whether they're worth it or not. Arcane Soul. This would be the epic rarity of being able to add an ascension to any character without needing a copy of them. Worth it. Very expensive, but it's such a useful item. Really strong. I think it's worth. Alright, and then you got your 4-star pumpkins. I like to pick these up. They're a little spendier, but I just really like having a lot of pumpkins all the time just so that I can start bringing more heroes up so that I can progress a little further in the game and get to doing some champion guides sooner rather than later. So I like to pick up the pumpkins. They are expensive though, so I understand if that's not where you'd want to spend your resources. And then the meal coupons are a little spendier here, so I think I'd be picking them up personally probably from the arena shop rather than here. And then same thing with these gear tokens. I don't know why these ones are substantially more expensive. I know that the endless trial might be a little bit easier to get the currency for, but I still think these might be a little on the spendy side. So it's up to you whether you need them real badly or not. And just to note, they are specifically the chest piece and boots charm, at least right now. And then you've got your summoning crystals, pumpkins, and all that. We went over all those. Recently, they added the events shop. So this one actually offers some pretty nifty things. So I have already bought it, so you can't see it here, but for 800 event tokens, you can just buy 40 Aurak shards, so that you can just build him right off the bat. So 800 event tokens, you get Aurak. And he's a really good fire champion. I've really been enjoying my time working with him. I have him in a pretty good gear set that I've been swapping between him and a new champion I got. And he's been really useful. A lot of damage in dungeons. He's helped me clear all the way up to, I want to say, stage 11 in the Tulpa dungeon. He just hits really hard. He's super useful. Defense down in the A1. I really like this champion. I definitely think he is worth 800 event points. And not to mention, you can slowly build into getting more shards for him so that you could upgrade him to his better trait, which is really cool too. And then 5-star pumpkin. Little expensive, but obviously those are really hard to come by. So if I had the points, I'd probably think about picking it up. Advanced summon shards, pretty much the same as the others. Little spendy, but not too crazy. So if you're just looking to do a bunch of pulls, and or you have a ton of event points, pick them up, why not? Gear charms, this one's a little better priced than the Trials shop. I think the charm that can be used on anything is definitely worth a little more in my book, so I think that's a better price for it. Not bad. I definitely don't think I'd be buying any of these ability shards. I don't think they're worth with how easy they are to farm most of the time. Meal coupons, not a bad price. The gold ones, it's still not quite as bad a deal as the diamond shop, but I still don't think I'd be buying this at all. It's just not worth it. And the last one, the essence shop. So this one has been changed a little bit. In the last update, you used to be able to buy an infinite amount of summoning crystals, and as you can see, they have now capped it at 5 per weekly. But they have added advanced gear charms for 10 and at 10k XP jelly for 2. So this is an interesting one. At first I was a little upset to see that I couldn't just farm my hundreds of standard summoning shards, and I couldn't just pull a bunch of advanced shards. But having done a reasonable amount of pulls, I did realize that you don't get enough to really just plow through them anyways, unless you have thousands of the blue shards. So it's still a little obnoxious, you can only get 5, but it's not that big a deal. I'll still take my 4 or 5 of these a week. But what I do like is that I can now break down cheap champions I don't need, and I can get advanced gear charms and a reasonable amount of XP jelly without having to put a whole lot into it. So I really like these two being added here. It has been a big help to me, and I definitely spend a lot of these here and here when I'm trying to work on champions or upgrade gear. So this one has been great. And that is pretty much it, guys. That is looking over all of the little shops in the game, going over what I would be buying for myself and what I'd recommend you think about buying for yourself. I hope this video gives you a better idea of what's worth picking up in the shop and what's worth not picking up in the shop. And I hope you all are having a good time with the game, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.